Hi, everybody. I will do a quick demo about the simulation that we will play. Typically, I will share with you at the beginning of a session a link that you can click on, and that will bring you to this page where you can enter your username and a password. Those will also be shared with you so that you don't have to create an account from scratch. So here the username and password is already entered. So if you then sign in like this, you'll be arriving at a page that now looks like this one. And there you click on Run Simulation to then arrive at the main screen. At first, you will you may receive an sort of a message that says the exercise is currently closed to users and that the instructor must enable it before you can play. That is so that everybody can start at the same time. So I will typically sort of enable the game a few minutes into the session, right? So next, let me show you what the interface looks like for the game. Thanks. All right, so once you're in the simulation, this is the interface that you look at. The game runs for multiple years, and you may be asked to play fewer years at the beginning of the session. Now, we have here a how to play guide. You could look through that, but this demo that I'm going to do is also going to cover the key features of the game. And of course, the decisions that I will make here as I play the game for you for 1 year are not going to be the optimal decisions that you need to make. For that, you will need to put some more thought into the process. So when you enter the game, so one thing you can do is download the how to play guide by clicking on the PDF there. And you can also read a little bit about the types of problems supply chain managers at firms are facing. So by clicking on next, you can read further, and then you can begin the simulation, right? So we begin simulation, and then we will enter a series of rooms throughout the game. The first room is the design room, where you have a design team, so you can meet the team members. So the first member is Andre. If you click again, and the next member is Aya, etc. And so I encourage you to sort of read through that quickly. And then once you're done with that, you can now choose product options. You have two products. They are cell phones, and they are simply named Model A and Model B. And the game tells you about what types of product each one of those products are. So it's good to read about that a little bit. And then below here, you have some cost time and price parameters for each of the models. Keep in mind that you also have to choose some features, and these price and cost parameters can change as you choose features. The other thing what you have is the amount of demand that each team member thinks will be requested by customers, right? And for that, for example, for Model A, given the current features, Andre thinks that 63,000 units will be sold on average per month, whereas Aya thinks that only 54,000 units will be sold, etc. Right? And then you have a forecast from each team member. You also have a consensus forecast. Now, that doesn't simply mean the average of the different forecasts, but rather it means that once everybody gave their individual forecasts, then they sat around the table and then discussed, oh, why do you say higher? Why do I say lower, etc. And as a result, they come up with a consensus forecast that way. So it's not a simple average of the different of forecasts, right? How you use that is up to you, but that's sort of what's going on in the background. Now, you can choose up to 4 options to add as features to your models. Whatever you choose for one product will also be added to the other. So keep that in mind. It's not like you're choosing features for model A only or model B, but whatever you choose is chosen for both. The game is designed that way to limit the number of combinations of things you could do, because otherwise we end up spending too much time on this particular room. Right. So in this case, you have 4 features, and we could select each one. When you select a feature, what you notice here is some bars appear. And what that means is that, for example, Andre has a green bar here to the right, and it has a value of 10. Andre thinks that adding this upgraded communications feature will increase demand for the product, right? Whereas Aya thinks that demand will be lower, right? So while the numbers above were for the base model without any of the features, the graph shows you how those forecasts will change once you choose the features. And you can choose up to 4 of them, up to you. I will select all of them for the demo. Again, you can put a little more thought into it, and you could choose anywhere from 0 to 4 features. Right, so this chart on the bottom sort of puts together the information from this table as well as this chart here, and also breaks it down into the 2 models of phones that you could be manufacturing. So you have model A and model B. The current chart is for model A. So once again, here, Andre thinks that we will sell 63,000 units per month on average. But with the features, it's 72. And if I look at model B, it is 36 without the options and 45 with the options, right? So similarly for each other member of the team, right? So for model B, Aya thinks that without these features, we would have sold 18,000, and with the features, we would sell 16,000. Okay, so then once you have made your decision, you can submit it and move on to the next room. Right, so we have next the forecasting room. And this is a summary of what you have covered in the previous room. So here are the forecasts that you have, as well as the consensus forecast. And now you're also listed the average across all of these forecasts. So from Andre through Ruth. And then we also have a standard deviation. Now, what the standard deviation captures is the variability across the predictions, the forecasts of these 6 team members, right? So the larger the standard deviation, the more disagreement you have across team members in terms of how many units will sell. On the flip side, the lower the standard deviation, the more agreement you have across them, right? So if everybody's forecast was the same, we would have a standard deviation of 0. Right. So given this information, you're asked how many units sort of will be needed in each month. So you decide on that. So you could use the average. You could order more than the average, less than the average. How you decide that is up to you. And to help you sort of think through that decision, this information is here, right? So information on the average, standard deviation, the consensus, and also some price and cost type of information for each of those products, right? So next, we want to sort of enter what we think we will need sort of delivered per month. So for example, if you're an optimist, then you could say that, well, the consensus is 63, but I am going to order 70 because I'm optimistic. And on the bottom here, well, consensus is 33. Again, I am optimistic, so I will order 40,000, for example, right? Okay. Again, you put a little more thought into how you want to make your ordering decisions. All right, so then I submit those decisions, which brings me to the next room, which is the production room. There you have some, again, information. You can read through that. And then we're asked whether or not we want to host an event called Celdex, which will provide us some accurate or more accurate information than what we have from the forecasts of the team about the demand for the two products, right? So that hosting the event can be valuable, but it does cost you $2 million to host the event. So whether that value is lower or higher than 2 million, that's up to you to decide. And if you decide, yes, it's more valuable for me to have that information, then you can host the event. If you decide otherwise, you can decide not to. And the information from the event comes before the selling season starts, which I will show you on the next in the next room as well, right? So I will click no here, but I will tell you sort of when that information would have arrived had you chosen to do it, right? So again, that's entirely up to you. So now next, we come to we're still in the production room, but we are now looking at our suppliers, and also we can have a more sort of bird's eye view of planning the year. And here you see that January, February, March, and April, we have 0 sales. So our selling season starts in May and ends in December. And we will proceed through each month in a little bit. But first, we have to choose our suppliers. So we have 4 suppliers that we can choose from. They are named far, far away, pretty close, and very close. I will choose all of them, but again, you can think more carefully about this. And I had sort of predicted that I want to order 70 of product A and 40 of product B. So in sort of trying to arrive at that number, I'm going to produce sort of 20 of A from the first factory and 10 from the again from that factory for B. So I'll just put in those numbers here: 20 and 10. 20 and 10, and another sort of, let's put 10 and 10 now, and that brings me to 70 and right. So 20, 20, 20, and 10 gives me 70 of A, and 10, 10, 10, and 10 gives me 40 of B. You need to also make some decisions about when to start production, right? That depends partially on this information that you have here. So you want to sort of, again, put more thought into this. I am just going to have sort of everybody start producing in January. But again, you may want to put a little more thought into that when you're playing the game, right? So, okay. Right. So again, the information is about the unit costs that you have to pay per unit of the phone that it's produced by that particular factory, how much of a lead time you have from when they start producing until when you receive the product, and then what their capacity is at the factory, and the setup cost they have. So that's a setup cost is a one-off cost for setting up the factory. Okay, then we confirm and advance and submit our decisions. So that brings us from the beginning of January to the end of January or beginning of February. So this vertical line here tells you where you are in time. Anything to the left of the line is something in the past. Anything to the right of the line is something in the future. So keep that in mind as well. And so anything to the right is a forecast, and that those numbers that you see to the right may and will change as you move forward in the game. Right? So there won't be any sales of the product until May. Again, that's just to simplify the decision-making process. So we advance by a month, and then we come to April. Because I haven't done I haven't hosted this marketing event, I will not get information about demand for the two products. But again, if you had done it, you would get some information, in which case you should look into that, right? So don't just click the pop-up off, and then that way you will not be able to read the information that you paid for, right? So make sure you do cover that, and before you go forward, and then you can decide whether to use the information or not, and how. So one thing you can do is issue a change order, and that means that you can change how many units you're ordering from each of your factories. To decide on that, what you will need to do is, again, sort of look at how much inventory you do have, how much you might be ending up with at the end of the year, and keeping in mind that whatever you have left over at the end of the year, you cannot use in the next year, right? So all of that will be discarded. You may get some secondary market kind of value from that, but it won't be, you cannot sell it at the same price as the retail price, right? Those are things you need to sort of take into account, and all of that is sort of explained to you as you go in the game, right? So now if you issue a change order, it costs you 2 million. So that's one more thing to keep in mind per change order. So if you change orders at 2 factories, that's $4 million. If you change an order now and then change the order again in 2 months, that again is a further $2 million each time you change your order. There is also some limitation on how much you can change your order, right? So you're warned about that here. So if you're bringing the quantity down, you cannot fall below 60% of your original order quantity, right? So we say, okay, we got that, and then we can sort of bring the numbers down, right? So let's say, see, when it becomes red like this, that means we went below that 60% threshold. So we need to bring it back up. If, on the other hand, we were just going up, 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 we could go as much as we like until we hit the capacity of the factory, which was 60,000 units for this particular factory. So we can essentially just do that, right? So up to us. And I'm doing it just to show you the nuts and bolts of the game. Again, you can put more thought into this as you play. So I will confirm the change order. By doing that, I have now spent $2 million, and then I can advance by a month, advance by a month. At any point in the game, you can issue another change order if you wanted to. Then we advance by a month, advance by a month. Sometimes you get these pop-ups that give you some news items. Again, you can react to that and issue a change order if you like. And again, entirely up to you. So we advance by a month, advance by a month. We get some further news items. Again, you decide whether to react to it. And then we advance by another month. Now we're done with the year, and we can review our performance. And we go to the final room of the year, which is the boardroom. So with these ad hoc policies, I have lost $12 million. So I'm fairly sure you'll do much better than that. Again, do put some thought into your decision making, right? Then we can meet with board members, and our board members will decide whether they'll give us sort of a vote of confidence, and that is reflected in how many stars you have here below your profit for the first year in this case. Again, we can play up to 4 years. So we are being introduced to the board members, and right, so we are sometimes asked questions, sometimes we are just sort of told that we get the vote or not. So be careful not to skip the questions if you are asked. Right, so in this case, we have not been asked a question yet, but when you are asked a question, you get some boxes to tick, and you would say sort of your reasoning for your decision, and if they agree with your reasoning, then you get their vote. So in this case, I have received only 1 vote from the board members, and made a loss of 12 million. Again, when you're more careful about your decisions, you will get sort of a better profit and more votes. Right, and after that you begin year 2, and year 2 looks a lot like year 1, but again, you should read about those features, etc., and then make decisions accordingly when you play the game. All right, so I hope you enjoy the game and have fun with it, but there are a lot of interlinked decisions in the game as well, so it is something that you need to be thinking about, and I will give you some guidance throughout the game, visit you in your rooms, etc. All right, so looking forward to this, and see you soon.